Most men have been brainwashed. They've been told that the key to winning a woman is to try harder, talk more, impress her with grand gestures, and chase endlessly. But here's the cold truth. The moment you try to impress, you lose power. Women aren't attracted to effort, they're drawn to presence. They're addicted to the man who speaks less, moves less, and yet somehow owns the entire room. The most desired man says nothing and still gets chosen. Why? Because silence makes people lean in. It forces them to wonder. It creates a vacuum of intrigue, and nature hates a vacuum. The man who resists the urge to over-explain becomes the one who commands the most attention, not through manipulation, but through restraint. In today's world, most men can't shut up. They talk themselves out of attraction, they overshare, they rush to validate, they perform, and all of it screams neediness, the ultimate repellent. The Machiavellian man is different. He doesn't perform, he doesn't chase, he doesn't plead for attention. He exudes such quiet certainty that others feel it in their gut. That presence is the seduction. Here's what modern society doesn't want you to realize. Women aren't looking for clowns to entertain them. They're looking for men they can't quite figure out. Men who don't dance for approval. Men who are so emotionally self-contained that even silence becomes an act of power. Machiavelli would never chase. He would never explain. He'd simply let his energy speak, cold, still, calculated. And she would lean in, wondering what makes this man so grounded, while others scramble for attention. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to draw a woman in without saying a word. You'll learn how silence becomes seduction, how presence creates obsession, and how emotional detachment makes you unforgettable. If you're tired of being taken for a ride, been treated with disdain, hit the subscribe button and become a member of our community. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Rescue a simp today. Now we begin. In the age of social media thirst traps, endless texting, and performative dating, most men have become background noise, constantly chasing, constantly proving, constantly begging for attention they haven't earned. But Machiavelli would laugh at this chaos, because he understood one timeless truth. What is rare is valued. What is always available is ignored. Let's be clear, you don't win women by pursuing them. You win by positioning yourself as the man who doesn't need to. The most attractive man isn't the loudest in the room. He's the quiet one whose stillness commands attention. He's the man who looks at her without flinching and doesn't chase when she walks away. That kind of unshakable presence isn't just magnetic, it's dangerous. Why? Because women are not drawn to noise. They're drawn to mystery. The man who reveals everything, explains everything, constantly seeks approval becomes boring, predictable, weak. But the man who is emotionally unreadable, who doesn't rush to fill the silence, who holds eye contact with calm indifference, that man creates tension. And tension is the fuel of desire. Presence isn't about being physically there. It's about being mentally unshakable. When you walk into a room and don't scan it for validation, when your energy says, "I don't need to be liked," that is when people start orbiting around you, especially women. Machiavellian truth reveals that women don't want a man who explains himself. They want a man they can't figure out. They want a man whose time, attention, and emotions are scarce, because scarcity signals value. The more you give freely, the cheaper you become. The less you give, the more they invest. And here's the twist. When you stop chasing, you shift the dynamic entirely. You become the prize. Not through manipulation, not through arrogance, but through ruthless discipline over your attention and energy. Imagine this. Two men approach the same woman. One flatters her, compliments her, and tries to entertain her. The other simply looks at her, says nothing, holds eye contact for 2 seconds too long, and walks away. Guess which one she thinks about all night? The silent man doesn't perform. He doesn't convince. He makes her convince herself. That's psychological seduction. That's presence. That's how Machiavelli would move. And if you master this presence, you no longer need to chase anything. Because what you withhold becomes more powerful than anything you could offer. The less you say, the more they feel. Machiavelli wants you to adopt these principles. 1. Strategic stillness. Mastering body language that speaks for you. Power doesn't beg. It doesn't twitch. It doesn't explain itself through motion or noise. The moment you walk into a room, before a single word leaves your mouth, your body is already speaking for you. And most men, they speak weakness. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Power is not merely a strategy, it is an aesthetic, and stillness is its most underused weapon. Let's break it down. Posture, eye contact, and intentional stillness. These are not just body language tips, they're dominance signals. A man who can stand still, maintain calm eye contact, and hold his posture like a statue is announcing something primal. I am not threatened. I do not chase. I decide. Contrast this with the average man. Fidgeting, laughing nervously, adjusting his sleeves, shifting weight, speaking before he's even been invited to. These are not harmless habits. These are leaks in power. And every woman, consciously or unconsciously, reads them as what they are, signs of uncertainty. Fidgeting is a confession. Every small movement reveals anxiety. It screams that you're uncomfortable, that you're reacting to the room instead of commanding it. You're proving that you're not in control of yourself, which means no one will trust you to be in control of anything else. Over-smiling is compensation. Most men smile too early and too often, hoping to be liked, that to seem friendly, to ease the tension. But Machiavellian psychology teaches the opposite. Tension is power. Let the silence stretch. Let the moment breathe. If she's nervous, let her feel it. Don't rescue her from the discomfort. Make her earn your softness. Stillness is the signature of kings. When you are still, you are anchored. It tells everyone around you that you are immovable, emotionally self-contained. You are not rushing to fill silence. You're not afraid of her gaze. You are unbothered by pressure. You own the moment by simply being unmoved by it. This is why Machiavellian men attract without effort. They aren't trying to be seen. They already assume they are. Their presence is crafted, not with flashy gestures, but with silent certainty. Women don't feel the need to get away from them. They feel the need to figure them out. And here's the final truth. Presence is posture, not performance. Stop trying to entertain. Stop over-animating. When you move, make it precise. When you speak, make it deliberate. When you walk, walk like a man who knows everyone is already watching. Because they are. 2. Controlled indifference. The weapon of emotional detachment. If desire is a flame, indifference is the oxygen it needs to rage. Machiavelli wouldn't chase, flatter, or validate. He'd master the art of being seen and then not needing to be liked. Because here's the truth. Controlled indifference doesn't repel attraction. It intensifies it. Women are used to being pursued, complimented, reacted to. Most men fold the moment beauty enters the room. They laugh too loud, look too long, speak too quickly. In doing so, they reveal a fatal weakness. They value her attention more than their own frame. But the man who looks at beauty and doesn't flinch, the man who listens, nods, and keeps his emotions sealed behind calm, unbothered eyes, that man becomes a question she can't stop trying to answer. Here's why. Bookmark. Indifference creates obsession. The human mind fixates on what it can't control. When you don't respond to her presence like everyone else does, when you don't chase, react, or validate, she's forced to wonder, why not me? And in that question, the power shifts. You become the one who must be understood. You become the one she needs to impress. Power move 1. Don't react to beauty. Beauty is everywhere. You must train your mind to see it as neutral. When she expects admiration and gets calm neutrality, it unsettles her. Not in a cruel way, but in a deeply psychological one. You're signaling, your appearance does not govern my attention. This alone separates you from 99% of men. Power move 2. Compliment others, but not her. This is not to provoke jealousy. This is to signal emotional selectivity. Praise someone's intelligence, style, or wit in casual conversation. But let your silence toward her speak louder than any compliment. The message is clear. I don't praise what is common, I acknowledge what is rare. She will instinctively want to become the exception. Power move 3. Respond slower. Whether it's texting or speaking, a delayed response says, "My time is full." Not because you're playing games, but because you are living. Let your reply times reflect value. Don't rush, don't justify, and never explain the delay. Your absence should speak with quiet dominance. Power move 4. Be casually unavailable. Don't announce how busy you are. Just be slightly out of reach. Cancel plans calmly. Leave her messages on read. Not out of pettiness, but to preserve your mystery. You are a man with priorities, and she must earn her place within them. Here's the Machiavellian truth. What you show emotional detachment toward will crave your attention the most. When you train yourself to not need her validation, when you find peace in silence and power in restraint, she begins to fill in the blanks with obsession. She imagines, she wonders, she tries harder. Because in a world of men who react, the man who doesn't becomes unforgettable. And understand this clearly. This is not manipulation, it's mastery. You're not pretending not to care. You're simply not letting attraction rob you of control. You're not cold, you're calm. You're not ignoring, you're prioritizing. And in that restraint lies your psychological advantage. 3. Frame control. She enters your world or she leaves. Powerful men do not chase. They establish the frame and make the world orbit them. This is the Machiavellian truth. In every relationship, one person sets the rules and the other adapts. One commands reality, the other conforms to it. And the moment you surrender that frame to impress, accommodate, or please, you've lost your power. The average man loses frame the second he sees beauty. He lowers his standards, becomes overly agreeable, softens his edge, and trades dominance for desire. But Machiavelli would tell you, never give up sovereignty to gain affection. If you must bend to keep her, she was never yours to begin with. What is frame? Your frame is your internal world. It's your values, your boundaries, your beliefs, and your tempo. It's how you interpret the world and how you expect others to behave in it. A man who holds his frame never explains himself. He doesn't overreact. He doesn't chase approval. He moves with calm certainty. He leads with silent gravity. And women, if they are drawn to anything, are drawn to a man who leads. You don't enter her world. She earns access to yours. That means you don't mirror her pace, adapt to her expectations, or seek her validation. You are not emotionally available on demand. You don't match her moods. You don't adjust your tone to avoid offense. You stay solid, controlled, and unbothered. When she tests you, which she will by being late, vague, hot and cold, or dramatic, you don't flinch. You don't punish her either. You simply stay rooted in your frame, calm, direct, unaffected. If she crosses a boundary, you correct it. If she keeps testing, you withdraw. Not out of anger, but because your time is reserved for those who respect your world. How do you hold frame? Through silence, through boundaries, through posture and energy, through being the one who decides when, where, and how things happen. You do not ask, "What do you want me to be?" You ask, "Does this align with my world?" And if not, you walk. You don't raise your voice to assert control. You don't plead for understanding. You simply continue living by your standard, with or without her. And that's when everything flips. Because the man who doesn't need her attention becomes the one who commands it. Not with words, not with promises, but with unshakable presence. His frame becomes the gravity that pulls her in. She senses that he cannot be swayed, and now she wants to be chosen. Machiavelli put it this way: a prince never lowers his standards. He raises others to his. If she won't rise to meet your values, she is not your queen. She is just a visitor. Hold the frame or lose the game. 4. Silence as seduction. Say less, mean more. The most seductive man in the room isn't the one telling jokes, flexing stories, or listing achievements. It's the one who speaks the least, but owns the room anyway. Why? Because his silence is loaded with tension, with certainty, with control. And that silence tells her everything she needs to know without saying a word. In the world of male-female dynamics, most men talk themselves out of attraction. They ramble to impress, overshare to connect, and speak quickly out of nervousness. All of it signals the same thing: desperation for approval. Machiavelli would have laughed at this, because a man who cannot control his tongue cannot control himself, and a man who cannot control himself cannot lead. Seduction is not a performance, it's presence. Imagine two men walk into a room. One enters with loud laughter, flashy style, and exaggerated gestures. The other walks slowly, silently, makes brief eye contact, and says little. One demands attention. The other commands it. Women might look at the loud one, but they'll feel the silent one, because his silence is a question that demands an answer. Who is he? That's power. Here's how to apply it. Speak slowly. Speed is insecurity. Slow is confidence. Pause often. Let your words breathe. Silence isn't awkward when you own it. Say less. Most of what you want to say is unnecessary. What you leave unsaid is often more powerful. Let her fill the space. When she speaks more than you, she feels more emotionally invested. Use that. The key to Machiavellian silence isn't muteness, it's intentional withholding. You give just enough to spark curiosity, then you pull back. You share just enough to create a bond, then you hold silence like a weapon. Even your glances matter. Look at her, not with hunger, but with calm awareness. Hold eye contact just long enough to unsettle her ego. Then look away as if you've already decided she's not the center of your world. Silence builds pressure. Most men can't handle it, so they break it. But if you can sit calmly in the tension while she's wondering what you're thinking, how you feel, what you want, you now control the dynamic, because you're not trying to be chosen. You're making her question if she's even qualified. This is not arrogance, it's restraint, and it drives obsession. When you speak, your words are sharp, calm, and minimal. When you listen, your eyes remain steady and expression unreadable. You never explain yourself. You never rush. You let her chase clarity. And in that silence, seduction begins. Because she's not attracted to what you say, she's pulled into what she can't figure out. Your silence makes her mind race. Your stillness creates chaos in hers. That's the game. Not to impress, but to unbalance. Speak less, mean more. Let her imagination do the seduction for you. 5. Psychological push-pull. Balance distance with precision. Attraction isn't built through constant affection. It's built through tension. Push, then pull. Warmth, then cold. Presence, then absence. This is the Machiavellian formula for psychological seduction. Give just enough to spark desire, then vanish just enough to intensify it. Most men fail here. They either smother her with attention or ignore her completely. Both are weak extremes. But the man who moves like a wave, unpredictable, rhythmic, untouchable, becomes addictive. Why? Because the brain craves patterns, and when it can't find one, it obsesses. A man who is predictable is dismissed. A man who is unreadable becomes a puzzle, and people don't rest until they solve puzzles. Here's the tactic: reward nothing. You don't react to compliments. You don't light up at attention. You don't give her the emotional feedback she's used to getting from average men. You keep her guessing. She leans in, you pull back slightly. She compliments you, you nod calmly, no big reaction. She texts a long paragraph, you respond hours later with a sentence. Not because you're disinterested, but because you control your presence like a scarce resource. Scarcity creates value. Over-availability kills it. The art of push-pull is precision. It's not about playing games. It's about psychological dominance. You show her you're capable of warmth, so she knows the potential is there. Then you step back, not out of fear, but control. She chases the warmth again, not realizing you've made her addicted to earning it. And here's where it gets brutal. Make her doubt her effect on you. This is the most potent psychological seduction tactic Machiavelli would employ if he were alive today. Most women are used to being pursued. They're used to holding emotional leverage. But when a man doesn't react the way she expects, when he remains calm, composed, unreadable, it disrupts her programming. She starts to question, did I say something wrong? Is he not interested? Why do I care so much? That self-doubt is the seed of obsession. And the beauty is, you're not manipulating her. You're just not giving her emotional leverage over you. You're not doing more than she deserves. You're letting her earn what most men give for free. Unpredictability is power. She doesn't know when you'll respond, what you'll say, or how you'll behave. That lack of control makes you more intriguing than any pickup line ever could. Because you're not trying to impress her. You're not proving anything. You're letting her feel your absence, even when you're in the room. And when you give affection, it means something. Because it wasn't guaranteed, it wasn't constant, it wasn't free. The push creates desire. The pull creates tension. The unpredictability creates obsession. That's Machiavellian seduction. Not through neediness or chasing, but through calculated presence that disrupts her emotional rhythm and makes your attention the thing she wants most. 6. Be the prize, the man she can't figure out. Machiavelli would never chase a woman, not because he hated romance, not because he lacked desire, but because he understood something most men never will. You are the prize, not her attention, not her validation, not her approval. Her access to you is the real privilege, and it must be earned, not granted. This is the mindset that separates the rare man from the countless others who orbit around feminine approval. While they beg to be chosen, you choose yourself first. And that choice reshapes everything. The man she can't figure out, the one who doesn't overshare, overgive, or overpursue, is the man who dominates her thoughts, not because of what he says, but because of what he withholds. She wonders what he's thinking. She analyzes his silence. She obsesses over his detachment. He doesn't chase, yet women find themselves chasing him. Why? Because he's rare. He has self-control. He has standards. He has presence that doesn't demand attention. It commands it. You don't get pulled into her emotional whirlwind. You remain still. You don't perform to impress. You let your silence speak louder than compliments. You don't flirt endlessly. You let your composure seduce without effort. She begins to feel what most men feel around beautiful women: nervousness, overthinking, a craving to be noticed. That's the reversal. You flip the dynamic. Now she's qualifying herself to you. This isn't arrogance, it's strategy. It's the Machiavellian recognition that true attraction is not built on flattery or desperation. It's built on uncertainty, discipline, and presence. You are not trying to be liked. You are observing, testing, and measuring if she fits into your world, not how you can fit into hers. You've become the question she can't answer, the storm she can't predict, the man she can't read. And that is why she wants you. Because you don't chase women, you attract their curiosity and let silence pull them deeper. And when she finally realizes she's not the one being pursued, she realizes something more powerful. She's already been conquered, without a word. This wasn't dating advice. This was psychological warfare. The kind that rewires how you see yourself, power, and women. If you're done chasing, if you're ready to attract through presence, silence, and strategy, then subscribe now, because this channel isn't for the needy, the loud, or the desperate. It's for the few who are ready to rule quietly and dominate completely. Don't seduce with words, rule with silence.